never find where you are. Won't be, 'cause I never see why you're so afraid that you are away from me. You're so afraid that you are away from me.
Hi, everyone. This is Stacy, and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Stigma Does Not Define Us, Mentell Health's podcast, where we try to bring inspirational stories about men who have struggled and have sought help or methods of coping, and we want to get those stories out to all of you. This young man that we have here with us, his name is Harvey Oxford, and we have been chatting a little bit, and I loved what he just said to me. He said, I want to come on here because sometimes you'd be surprised by who is struggling, because we can look at people and be like, oh, they seem fine, and they're active, and they're doing this, and they're doing that, and they're out there socializing. And little do you know what might be happening on the inside. And so he wanted to talk about that today. And Harvey, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to swap our spots here. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. You had said something very interesting. You said, you know what, I didn't have any major, big bad thing happen to me, but I still struggle. Tell me about that, when you first noticed that.
Well, I think it was as I started secondary school, so that's classed as year 7. So in America, that'll be like halfway through middle school.
Okay.
You're about 12, 13 years old, I think, maybe 11.
Mhm.
That was when obviously schooling gets a bit more important and more levels of stress might pile onto certain people who take school quite seriously.
Mhm.
And I think back then I didn't have an understanding of what mental health and depression and things like that were. So I couldn't look at my own scenarios and my own mindset and pinpoint that it could have been that. And it was very much a case of just being unaware. And I knew there was something wrong, but I just didn't speak about it. A lot of blokes don't come out and have the confidence to speak about it because men are supposed to be seen as these big tough people, whatever. They're meant to be the problem solvers, they're meant to be the providers, and in a lot of cases that is true, but it's very much a hidden conversation when it comes to men and mental health. I think as I got older and as you have more responsibilities, stress can definitely pile on it, and it can cause a lot of issues with your confidence, and it can make you depressed. But I think I can't say that I've had a bad life. I've got amazing parents. I've got a really good support network. My family are great. But I remember when I was about 16, 17, and I was going through a bit of a heartbreak. And for what the relationship, for the age the relationship was at, it was very much, quite full on, quite serious, but a lot of stuff was happening which it shouldn't have happened at that age. And I remember sitting down with my dad and talking about it, and he was like, he didn't understand where it would come from, because my dad's quite a just heads on kind of guy. Like he was in the Navy for nearly 20 years. He's
Oh,
problem
wow.
solving. If it needs doing, he'll do it, kind of thing. So he's never sat back and said to himself or said to other people that he's struggling with mental health, because he probably isn't, to an extent where he can notice it anyway. And he said to me, you've not had a bad life. If you're being honest with yourself, you've not had a bad life. You've always been into sport. You've always had friends. You always enjoyed doing things. Where would it have been caused? Where would it have happened? And I was speaking to him about it. I was like, nothing has to happen. No major incident has to happen. That is a common way people suffer with mental health, but it is genuinely just a chemical imbalance in your brain with the happy and the sad hormones not being at a good balance. And I just had a lot more sad hormones than I should have done. And obviously going through something like a heartbreak can just amplify that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I think actually getting diagnosed with depression happened when I was about 17. That was when I started taking antidepressants. It was called citalopram, which is a medicine, and it's since gone up. Like I had a good stint without it, but then in recent months I've been on something called metazapine, which helps with my sleep as well, because I've always struggled with sleep. And I wanted to speak about the awareness of medication as well, because a lot of people fear to be reliant on something when they'll be surprised on how unreliant it is. It is just a case of helping you along the way as such.
Right. And thank you for saying that. I'm a nurse. I don't know if you know that. And if you're a diabetic, you're going to take insulin. You know what I'm saying? If you have a thyroid problem, you'll take something for your thyroid. If you have a heart problem, you'll take something for your heart. It's all a chemical imbalance. And I think it's so important what you said. And that is, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have this big, tragic event or abusive upbringing for those imbalances to happen, because they can just happen. That's just life. And I want to encourage people that it's okay to take medication. And I want you to speak to the hesitancy. The more and more I speak with men from England, it's becoming very clear to me the hesitancy to just ask for help and ask for medications. Just talk about that right there. Just the resistance. Where do you think that comes from?
I think the reluctancy for men to ever take a medication is something that comes from their pride, possibly, and maybe a little bit of ego as well. When I started taking it, I definitely saw a change in the way I was approaching things, and I was definitely sleeping a lot better, things like that. But even coming on to metazapine in the last few months, again, I was a bit skeptical, because there's a level of, you want to be naturally okay. You want to be doing things that you can do yourself to make yourself better. And I remember speaking to my doctor about it, and he was like, yeah, but let's say he very much used similes and metaphors that you just used with other conditions. But the one he made it relatable for me was, have you ever had a football injury? So for you, it'd be soccer.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a football injury? And I was like, yeah, I've had loads. And he was like, what do you do to help that? I was like, well, I've been on crutches. I've had ankle supports, things like that. It's like, exactly. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So you use supports, you use aids to then get yourself back to a place where you don't need them. And I was like, yeah, to be fair, that's actually quite a good analogy. And metazapine itself is quite a strong sleeping aids and antidepressant. And I've definitely noticed I'm getting a hell of a lot more sleep, but I just can't. It knocks me for six sometimes, so I just can't wake up sometimes. But it's definitely helping, and it's having that understanding of why you might need it and how it's going to better you. It will open a lot more eyes, I reckon. There's other things which I have been reliant on previously. So I think in the last 7-8 months, again, I've come out of quite a serious relationship, and for what it was very much a level of, when it ended, you think that nothing is going to get better. You think that the world is over, and I went from being a healthy athlete as such, playing football all the time, going to the gym, to then using substances to aid my thoughts. I didn't want to think the way I was thinking. And so it was every day for at least 4 months I was smoking weed. That was just to help me get to sleep, because when you sleep and when you want to go to bed, your mind is just wired.
Racing.
So it was a case of, I was getting no sleep again. I was being restless, and I turned to weed, because I'd never done it before, at all. And it definitely, again, hit me for six. But there's a case of it's not legal, so you shouldn't do it here anyway. It's not legal, and there are better ways of helping you. But at that time, when you think that nothing's going to get better, you care less about yourself, and you neglect yourself, you neglect your health, you even neglect your hygiene, the environment that you stay in. is something that very much matches your mindset. I mean, it sounds small, but I didn't clean my room for 4.5, 5 months. I just didn't, because I had no motivation to improve the environment I was in. But again, like I was speaking about earlier with my family, after I told them, there was a level of disappointment because of the upbringing I've had and the support I've had through sport. But again, so understanding, so empathetic, so helpful in helping, but just being able to help me get better, because they don't want to see their son, who's always been the active, the outgoing person in the family as such, to be sad and be upset and be depressed. So yeah, again, I think if anybody is encouraged to take antidepressants or any sort of medication from their doctor or counselor, do it, because they know what they're doing.
Yeah. And I agree. And it's funny, as you're talking about that time that you were smoking pot, I mean, I have a young man about your age, very close to me, that I know, who went through the same thing and has noticed the same thing. He got into pot and he was smoking it, and it's fun. I personally have never smoked it, just because I'm a nurse and I'm afraid I'd get in trouble. But, it seems to me that the young folks now, and I don't know if this is true in England, when I was a kid, it was always alcohol. We were, sneaking beers, and it seems like this younger generation has swapped in alcohol for pot. And so that's just what this generation is doing. So it just seems like that. But he said the same, like his motivation went in the toilet. Like he couldn't move. He didn't clean his room, hygiene. It was all the same. So, I think, smoking some pot on the weekend can be fun, but it's not a solution to this long-term chemical imbalance. And I think it can actually make it worse. And pot can be a depressant.
It can be,
yeah, and it can make things worse. So there's a difference between having a little fun and using it as a medication, which, makes all us parents a little nervous. So yeah. And I'm just so, I just want to say kudos to your parents as well for being so supportive, because kids need to be able to make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? You have to be able to make stumble and get up, and you need that support to say, okay, let's make this better. And you're blessed to have parents that are that proactive, and we wish that for all people to have those.
I'm very grateful. I'm very lucky.
Yeah, they seem very sweet. Now, what would you say, if you don't mind getting a little deeper into the pandemic? How have you been? We've been on lockdown, and when you're on lockdown, this stuff is coming up because the isolation is just killing us. I know it's killing me over here. How did you do, with your depression during that time?
Well, the funny thing actually is, as the pandemic was getting worse and lockdowns were getting harsher, I actually went to college in America.
Oh.
I got offered through football. I've always been in academies, things like that, and I was on the verge of getting a good contract at professional clubs, but then things fell through, and I had scholarships offered to me in America to play football. And I was like, I'm going to take one of them. Why not?
Yeah.
I'm going to travel. I'm going to experience a new place. And for the most part, it was really, really good. So when the pandemic was getting a bit worse, I wasn't even here, and I was in Illinois, so 2 hours south of Chicago.
Okay.
In a city called Champaign, and it was, when I was there, when I got there, I would say it got quite bad because I was so far from home. I'd never been that far from home on my own as well.
Yeah.
I did go out there with somebody I became affiliated with a few months prior. He's a really good lad. His name's Jack. Brilliant bloke. He's still out there.
Nice.
And I think just because of the absence, and because the college itself, no discredit to any of the people associated with it, but the standard of football was not something that was going to better me. And that wasn't me trying to be arrogant. It's I've just made a massive risk and a massive choice to go somewhere to better myself, and I knew I wasn't going to do that there. So you get there and it's a level of disappointment. All disappointment is you expect a future event to go a certain way and it doesn't go that way. That's the only reason people get disappointed. And I was just disappointed and upset and missing my family and things like that. So I came home after a semester and didn't know whether I was going to go back or not. I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I was so adamant I didn't want to do it. I'm just going to play football back here. And I did. That's the choice I made. And I do feel like I made the right decision. A few things happened in America as well with a couple of the players. A lot of egos were there, and
egos
I'm very much,
in America.
I'm quite a straight up and honest person. If somebody needs a word, I'll give it to them. And again, that's not me trying to be intimidating or anything like that, because I'm definitely not. It was a case of I stick up for myself. I can never say that I've been bullied because of that. And yeah, it was just a big clash with a couple of the natives over there. And it just wasn't a good place for me. So I came back. I had a girlfriend at the time, and I was living with her throughout lockdown, basically. And so during our massive lockdown that we had for a number of months, I was with people I enjoyed being around all the time. So it wasn't a case of missing anyone then. I was with the person I was in love with. I was spending time with their family. And yeah, it was because we were in lockdown. You just spend time with people that you are close to. I think a lot of people might have gained good relationships through lockdown, like bettering their family relationships, things like that. And when lockdown eased, I think that's when other things became involved, and that's when other things interfered, and that's where the problem started for me, when the lockdowns eased, if I'm completely honest. The only thing I missed during lockdown was going to the gym. I'm very much 6 days a week in there. I've literally just come from there now. And because I'm going into obviously my job, and I'm going into bodybuilding. So I'm in there all the time. So going from not having that to then having that all the time to then not having that. Me and my dad are on eBay and Amazon every day trying to find a bench press and some weights. But over here it was like gold dust. You couldn't find it because everyone needed it. So as soon as I got that, it was a case of I'm in the garage every day. I'm training every day again. And but yeah, things just with me and the person I was with, it just didn't work out. There was a lot of negotiations which weren't happening, and because it was such a deep relationship, it hurt 10 times more than my first one. And yeah, that's just where the problems set in for me. That's when I started smoking. That's when I started neglecting myself. The only outlet I had to not think of anything was the gym. So I'm in there 2 hours at a time in my gym as well. I know a lot of people that go there. A lot of people know who I am who go there. I work there. So everyone's chatting, everyone's having a laugh, and you just don't think about anything. And then as soon as you leave, that's when the problems set in again. The amount of times I've been driving to the gym and back on my own in my car, and I've just cried on the way there and on the way back. You think certain thoughts, and you do think, do I just call it a day? But people ask me as well sometimes, they're like, have you ever thought about suicide? I'm like, yeah, all the time from a young age. But I've got a family, I've got younger siblings, I've got a little brother who looks up to me, I've got really supportive parents, and the thought of them after it would happen, if it wouldn't ever happen, but obviously, but the thought of them and what they would go through. There's a really good thing I heard on a podcast the other day. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. So you've got to give it time. Time is the best healer. It heals all wounds. And I've given it a good amount of time. I've had a lot of support. So I'm definitely in a better place than I was 3-4 months ago.
Yeah, that's amazing. That you're amazing young person. And I think I just want to go back, you were saying, if someone's given me a hard time, I'm going to say something. And I think that's wonderful. That doesn't make you a bully. That doesn't make you unkind. Everyone has to find that balance of saying, no, you're not going to talk to me like that. You're not going to speak to me like that. And what is that? You teach other people how to treat you. And so
Yeah.
having that as a young person is going to serve you your entire life. So that's a very good thing. The gym, so many men talk about that, having that physical outlet as just a place to go to help let go of those emotions. And I do appreciate you being able to say, you cry there, you cry on the way home. Since when and why is it only okay for women to cry, as if men don't go through every single emotion that women go through? We're all human. We're going to have the entire human experience, and that should be allowed for men as well. Tell me about your a physical fitness trainer, right? Is that what you do? Your personal?
So
Mhm.
I'm on the verge of becoming a personal trainer. I used
Nice.
to work in another gym where I was doing a lot of one-on-ones, a lot of
Mhm.
clientele-based activities, leading classes, things like that. But um, the because of the lockdown, the course
Mhm.
that I applied for is
Mhm.
online. It's
Mhm.
all through
Nice.
emails and coursework, and you got to send in videos, things like that. So it takes a lot longer than it should do, which has been very, very frustrating.
Mhm.
Um, I actually decided to become a PT. I'd
Mhm.
never ever thought about it. I'd never thought about it, even though I always went to the gym. And I came back from the States. I was in and out of jobs, like retail jobs, factory jobs, just not enjoying what I wanted to do or what I was doing. And I was at the gym with one of my best mates,
Mhm.
and he's always asked me about the gym, and he wants to obviously get bigger, whatever it is, get fitter.
Yeah.
And I was just talking to him about it. I was like, look, I don't know what I'm going to do. I feel like I've disappointed my family because it was a big thing for everyone. And he was like, why don't you become a PT? And I was like, why have I never thought of that? Like, it genuinely never crossed my head. And then
Right.
I thought the next day I applied for a course. The next day I bought the course, and
Oh,
um,
nice.
yeah, with the job that I had at the other gym that I used to work at, it was the first job where I spent more than 3 months at it. So I loved it, and with the consultation processes and things like that. And I was 19 at the time. I've just turned 20, so when I was an early 19-year-old, it's obviously wasn't that long ago.
Right.
But the amount of adults and people who are as old as my grandparents and my parents and
Mhm.
going through different problems, they would sit and talk to me about their bankruptcy, their debt, their divorces, their mental health issues.
Yep.
And then they go, oh, by the way, how old are you? And I'm like, 19. They're like, no, you're not. You're
No, you're
lying.
not. Yeah,
And
you're an old soul.
it was really motivating, because to see somebody be able to open up to you
Mhm.
that easily, that quickly, you must be doing something right. And it's just a case of being able to empathize.
Mhm.
I talk to adults all the time. I've still got all my old clients in my messages
Yeah.
talking to me about their struggles still. And even though I've not gone through what they're going through, I have the ability to step back and just assess what's
Mhm.
going on. And
Mhm.
from a bystanding point of view, you can pinpoint something at which you could improve, and then you
Yeah.
work on that. There was a really good quote from who was it? There was somebody I watched the other day,
Mhm.
and she said, "You can't wait until life isn't hard anymore to be happy."
Right.
And with the
Mhm.
gym, I said to people, you can indulge on anything to get a temporary sense of happiness and relief. But
Mhm.
the amount of times you do that and then you possibly regret it
Mhm.
is tenfold. With the
Mhm.
gym, you can never ever walk out the gym and think, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that," or "I'm going to regret that."
Good
But
for you. Yes, true.
you might be
Right.
like, "Oh, my legs are sore," but again, you'll be glad that you've done it. You'll be glad that
Right.
you've made that effort. You might have gone to the gym thinking, "Oh, I cannot be asked to do this," but
Mhm.
the release of endorphins, the dopamine, the serotonin, it all makes you feel happy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why would you not do it? It's just a case of people being bothered to do it and being able, or finding the time as well, is something that is a lot of people's barriers. But when I speak to people about the gym, um, even doctors and counselors prescribe physical activity as
Mhm.
a
Sure.
medicine. So
Absolutely.
it should be encouraged. And again, when it comes to me in the gym, people can see a level of arrogance with gym goers as well. Given that I want to go into bodybuilding, I get it all the time saying, "Oh,
Right.
you're just full of yourself," stuff like that. But then people used to say that to me years ago, but those same people are now asking me, "How do I do this? How do I do that?" And it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, you've changed your tune."
Yeah.
And with that, obviously, you get a lot of comments And like I said earlier, I can never say I've been bullied. I don't think peer pressure exists. It's all about your mindset and your resilience and your morals.
Mm-hmm.
If people want to comment on my social media or even come up to me and say it to my face sometimes, I'm like, fair play for having the courage to come and say something, but how is that helpful in any way? Are you going to feel proud of yourself now that you've said that? And it's I know I know who I am. I know my morals. I love to help people, and if people want to try and fit their nose in somewhere to try and give a 2p worth of negative comment, then they can do that, because who's the happier one? Who's the one that's going to be better for themselves and other people? So
you are such an example. Oh, you're like a breath of fresh air, honestly. You're such a beautiful example of we hear people's words and we absorb them and we massage them and we, snuggle with them, and you know what I'm saying? And then all of a
yeah,
sudden, what they said, we're almost worshiping what they said, or, revering what they said. Uh-uh. Just because somebody speaks something doesn't mean it's true.
no,
And you have what I want to hand out to so many people, like, okay, that's your opinion. I'm still going to go do me now. I'm still going to do my thing, and this is my dream. And people who might have been criticizing you before are now coming to you for advice. It's funny how that works, and that is because you are staying true to yourself, true to your heart, your own voice, and not letting everybody else's voice or opinion come in. So I just want people to hear that. Are you hearing what people say, absorbing it as if it's gospel, and then making choices based on somebody who isn't thinking about you 3 seconds after they walk away?
exactly,
Like like,
exactly.
why are you bothering, putting so much power in somebody else's words? And I'm just so impressed that you're such a young person and you have that now. You have that already. That's a beautiful thing, and we need to pass that out like medication. If that came in a pill, that would be fabulous, fabulous. Some fun questions. Do you have a favorite movie or a favorite character that inspires you to keep going?
Well, I'm very much I love a good movie. People like documentaries and series. I'd rather sit down and watch a really good movie. And
Mhm.
it's been recently, actually. I've got a mate who's going through a similar thing, and he's like, I need some stuff to watch. Give me some movies. And I've
Okay.
said, there's a movie called Prisoners, which is
Mhm.
really, really good, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman.
Okay.
I've watched one recently called um, A Beautiful Boy, which
Oh,
stars Steve
yes.
Carell and
Yes.
Timothy
Mhm.
Chalamet. I think that movie is just a cinematic masterpiece, and
Okay.
the storyline in it is so moving.
Mhm.
It just shows a struggle with a young boy going through substance abuse, things like that. But
Yeah.
the storyline is amazing. And then hopefully tonight I might have a new top three, because I'm going to go watch a new Spider-Man movie with my family later.
Oh, my daughter's
So
going. My daughter's your age.
yes,
She's going too.
I have been waiting for this, because I'm a big Marvel fan. I'm a big Harry
Nice.
Potter fan.
Nice.
I've got my dressing gown, so my nightgown is what you might call it, is a Gryffindor dressing gown. I've
Awesome.
got two wands. I've got the Malfoy wand and the Snape wand. I'm obsessed with movies, so I think Prisoners is just such a good movie.
What is that
Everyone I've
about?
told you. So that is about uh, it's kind of a gripping thriller. So
Okay.
it's with Jake Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman, and there are two families who both of their daughters get abducted, and
Oh.
honest, I don't want to give anything away, because it's
Okay.
such a good movie. Jake Gyllenhaal's the policeman in it, and he's very much motivated to find the bottom of it.
Uh-huh.
Hugh Jackman, struggling again. He goes through substance abuse because of the loss and
Oh, I see.
his missing child. But there's big plot twists. There's big storylines. If you haven't seen it, I would
I'm gonna
recommend you
see it.
watch it.
I was just
Honestly,
gonna
it's
say
amazing.
it's on
It's
my
such a
list.
good movie.
Oh, good.
But then other movies, like I love a comedy. We're the
Mhm.
Millers is one of my favorites.
Yes.
That's such a good movie. And then I'm into my war movies. So Fury with Brad Pitt and Shia
Mhm.
LaBeouf.
Mhm.
Inglorious Bastards is another good one. Um, But yeah, again, but I'm not really picky. If I know that I've seen a movie before and I know it's awful, I'll just leave the room. I can't
Right.
sit there and watch it
Right.
because
Right.
I'll just go on my phone, which is
Right.
not what you want to do whilst you're watching a movie.
Right. You want to forget time when you're watching a movie, for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Do you have a favorite book or speaker, author, influencer?
So with the books that I read, because I do read,
Mhm.
they're not like fiction. They're not fiction. They're more like
Okay.
educational and those kind of books. So there's a book called Not a Life Coach by a PT called James Smith. He is
Okay.
from here. He's got like nearly 1 million followers, but he's very much a no nonsense PT. Not a life coach. It is just about how to better yourself. He actually says something interesting. He can say that he's never suffered with mental health because he is an avoidant. An avoidant is a personality trait where if something bad happens, or you're going through a breakup, or you're facing issues, you either face it head on, and if it doesn't happen and if it doesn't work, you move on. You just straight like that. A lot of people are like that. I would say my dad is an avoidant because he has struggles, but he doesn't let them bother him to an extent other people might or other men might. And yeah, that book's been something that's helped me a lot, helped me realize what's important. Stresses, there was a really good thing that I don't think I read it in his book, but it was someone else's book. A quick tip to figure out what's worth stressing about, and it was the case. He said, write a list of everything that's stressing you out. Everything. It could be school, it could be work, it could be yourself, anything, and then cross out the ones that you cannot change, and then work on the ones you can. So I did it myself. I made a list of
Wow.
things. I made a list of stresses that I had, and I crossed out probably 85% of them because I physically cannot do anything about it. It's like worrying that the sky's blue. There's no
Right.
point in that because you can't change
That's
it.
perfect. Yes.
Exactly. And a lot of the challenges that young people face, even some older people, they care too much about other people's opinions. They care too much about what people think of them. And
Yep.
it then suppresses the amount of happiness that they can feel because they care too much about the reputation or the status.
Yeah.
I can sit here again, not trying to be arrogant. I was very much a popular kid because of the things I was into and the interests I had. But I'm going back to my old school soon to talk about this as well. I've been invited back, and the one thing that they want me to address and what I've spoken to them about is reputation doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything.
Right.
As if you're not happy, who cares how many friends you've got or how many
Yeah.
likes you get or what you look like? No one
Mhm.
cares.
Right.
Especially as you get older. I'm friends now with a lot of people that I wasn't friends with in school because some of them that I were friends with, they remain the same. They don't like the change, or they can't accept the point of breaking out of that cycle.
Right.
And the friends I'm with now, they'll be my friends for life because they're so straightforward and they're so honest, and they actually like you for you, not just
Right.
for how you want to be perceived.
Right.
So
Right. So key.
yeah,
Mhm.
100%.
I think it's interesting listening to you and what you're saying about your dad. I think it sounds to me what he passed on to you was that ability to be like, well, okay, that's your opinion, you know, so be
Yeah,
it. I'm moving on my way. That's a wonderful thing to have because uh, every time I speak with anyone, man, woman, or child, I don't care what age they are, when they are having trouble or a struggle, you are absolutely right. They're absorbing the voices and opinions and, of everyone around them. And they're, taking it in like, oh, I must be wrong. If it's not in your heart, if it's not in your guts, I don't care what they're saying. You're spinning your wheels trying to make somebody else happy, whether it be culturally, your family, your friends, your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend, I don't care. If it's not on your heart to do it, why
no,
why are
not
you
forced
why are
with
you
it.
living your life for somebody else? Life is way too short. This place is too temporary to give so much away to other people's opinions. And it's so nice to see such a young person have that and own that and be so true to yourself at such a young age. And I wish I had that at 19, 20. I wouldn't even, so many of my Oh gosh, I could go on forever. So many of my choices would be very, very different. So, you are amazing. I just want to get a side by side here. On our way out, a lot of people who watch this are struggling very seriously, and they're struggling with suicidal thoughts, and they do have days that they're like, you know what, I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
If somebody's in a very dark space watching you right now, what could you say to them that would give them hope to believe that they can be happy again? What can they do?
The only direction you can go from rock bottom is up.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to give it time. You will have days where that is just awful. The majority of the days I spent when I was facing the worst of my depression was spent in bed. I would spend nearly 16 hours in bed a day, and then again not get up and shower or anything like that. And there are so many people, especially in the UK as well, because obviously I live there. I know a bit more about it.
Mm-hmm.
The highest cause of death among men is suicide, and people don't recognize the amount of struggles that people are going through. So if I could say to anybody, young or old, men or women, there is always somebody you can talk to. A problem shared is a problem halved, and don't feel like you're putting your issues onto them, because the people that do truly care about you will be there to help you. They will check up on you. They will make sure you're okay. They'll invite you for a coffee as long as there's not a lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
It is just being able to talk about it and then find something new to do. So with me, I've now gone into the bodybuilding sector, and I might be doing a few shows next year because the gym is something I'm really passionate about. And yes, I've got clients and I'm a personal trainer, but what can I do for myself? What can I set as a goal to push for? And it's not a case of even having the motivation to do it, it's having the discipline to do it. It's with bodybuilding comes a lot of being strict on your diet and getting enough sleep and things like
Right.
that. So I don't encourage everybody to do that, but it's a case of setting some goals, short term to long term, and hitting it. Your first short term goals could be have at least a shower a day if you're struggling this, or make sure within the week you tidy your room, or go for a mile walk. Literally, these short term goals that you can do every single day, it will keep ticking in your head, and you'll just keep doing it, and it becomes second nature. And then you'll be excited to do these things. You'll want to live in a clean environment. You'll want to spend more time outside. But there is always somebody to talk to. There's suicide helplines. There are your local doctors can recommend counsellors and therapists, and even a lot of them themselves are qualified to talk about these kind of things. And even reaching out to people you might not have spoken to, they might not be interested, they might not know who you are anymore, but you're doing something. There is a possibility that you could rekindle with somebody, friendship wise as well, family wise, and it will be another thing to help you for not forget, but move on with the situation that you're dealing with. But there's always somebody to talk to. A problem shared is a problem halved.
I love that. A problem shared is a problem halved. I'm going to be writing that down. Harvey, speaking to you, it's very obvious to me why your clients in the gym, whoever you take care of, is you're an empath. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that. That's somebody who just has an ability to feel people. You know what I mean? To vibe people out, if you will. You definitely have that ability, and you have such a non-judgmental manner about you, an open, kind way about you, and that's why people are here in that gym with you. They're like, oh, this is such a nice young man, and I got this thing to get off my chest. And sometimes just having someone to hear you, you know what I mean, and then, like you said, you have this ability to hone in on that one little thing that you can say, you know what, hey, try this. It might not even be gym related, but it could be something in your experience that you've seen worked for somebody else, you know what I mean? And you can pass that on. So thank you, because that is a service to people who need a soft heart to listen to them. And I know you're gonna do a lot of good for people. You're gonna, I'm sure, have a beautiful family one day and be a wonderful dad and all those things. Don't have any doubt. I remember, being a young person, and those heartbreaks, unfortunately, are just part of life. But
Yeah.
whoever she is out there, there's no
Yeah.
doubt she will be very happy to
Yeah.
be with you.
Hope
But
so.
yeah, there's no doubt. Unfortunately, there's no getting around that one. But
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on, and I applaud you being this open and this transparent. And you said you were a popular kid. I was sort of middle of the pack, so it's nice to hear that, what, even that popular kid was struggling. You
I think
know.
when it comes to the popularity side of things in school, it was always just me and my mate. I had one best mate in school, but we weren't set with one group. I'm very much
Yes.
like my mum when she was in school. We weren't
Hmm.
in just one group. We just kind of like got along with everyone. A lot of people
Right.
might not have got along with us because we were very quite energetic kids when we were younger and getting in trouble, things like that. One thing in school actually to cover up my struggles was I would mess around in class and I would make it a teacher's nightmare because
Yeah.
when it's not entertaining, when the lesson isn't engaging, you need to stimulate your brain. Some people can just get on with the work and they know it's important. That's
Right.
another reason why I'm going back into my old school to talk about that to kids who might not
Hmm.
see the importance of school. But again, it was never a case. I never saw myself as like this big popular person. Like some people
Mm.
have that ego,
Yeah.
but I enjoyed school. I enjoyed seeing my friends, and again, a lot when it came to other people in my year, even in the younger years, who were getting bullied or
Mm.
finding it hard, I would, even though I was popular, I
Mhm.
would never think of my popularity hitting a detriment by talking to people who aren't in the same shoes I am.
Right. I
So
understand. Right.
it's a case of sticking up for the little guys, sticking up for the people who need that support. And then if I was doing that and then other people in my year or who I was hanging around with thought, why are you doing that? That's weird, whatever. I'll be like, well, middle finger to you. Like
Yeah.
yeah, like imagine you as this kid.
Yeah.
School's a living hell. He might have troubles at home. She might have troubles at home. They might not have a break. So if they have a breath of fresh air and it comes to a point of just being able to talk to somebody, there was a young lad 2 or 3 years below me who would get bullied every day, and I remember he was in this big circle getting his bag taken off him, his shoes taken off him. I just, because they were all younger than me, you're a little bit taller, a little bit bigger, so
Right.
you wade through them like Moses in the Red Sea, and I picked this kid up. And I was like, "Are you okay? We'll grab your shoes. You're going to come and have lunch with me." And then most
Oh.
days after that, I'd stick him at the front of the queue with me in the canteen. We'd sit and have lunch together. And after that, he did stop getting picked on. But he wasn't happy because he obviously was happy because he wasn't still get picked on. But he was happy because he had someone else there.
Yeah.
And if people are just kind, just be kind.
Right.
What is the
So
struggle with
simple.
that? Be kind, and it makes somebody's day. Make somebody's day.
He will never forget you. He will
I,
never,
I
ever
see him
forget you.
from time to time now. I see him from time to time now. He's in my local town. He loves football. He used to support the team that I played for.
Hmm.
So he'd see me all the time, and he's a proper good lad. And again, I hope that it made his later years in school easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And he'll do the same. This is a pay it forward as well. You know what I'm saying? He will observe someone younger than him. And because of what you did, he will be brave enough to do the same. And so you've started this chain reaction. So
I hope so.
truly, truly amazing, Harvey. You're a sweetheart of a young man, and I think you're going to do amazing things. So thank you so much for being with us. The young people need to hear from you. And
Thank you.
I
No,
think you're
thank you
going
for
to.
having me.
Absolutely. Anytime. You have a good rest of your day. Thanks so much again.
You too. See you later.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.